If you've been following my teaching for a while, then you know that I love mnemonics. Learning psychology confirms that if we connect an abstract learning with something that is familiar, like a shape or a story or an abbreviation of some sort, that it makes it easier to remember. If you have my pentatonics course, then you know all about big box, little box, big box, the hexagon, the boot, and the upside down boot. I find mnemonics very helpful, especially as we are figuring out this instrument. There's a lot of things to think about, and an easy, fast way to, for example, say an octave is a 2x2. 2 frets, 2 strings is something that can be really helpful to latch our minds on. Because this idea of the octave being a 2x2 or a fifth being a 2x1, because of that being so successful with my students, I wanted to go all the way with that idea on the wall chart and put every single interval into a formula that reflects its movement on the bass in terms of how many strings do I move, if any, and how many frets do I move and in which direction. That is what the interval formula reflects. So let's make sure we're on the same page when I'm talking about the interval formula on the wall chart. The interval formula are those numbers in the orange or green boxes. There are also numbers within the black circles directly on the fretboard or within the black squares on the fretboard. Those numbers are fingerings, okay? Second, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those numbers are fingerings. But now I'm talking about the interval formula, and it works as follows. The first number reflects the amount of strings that I'm jumping, if any. So if I'm staying on the same string, it would just be a 0, okay? If I am moving between strings, it could be either 1 for 1 string, 2 for 2, or 3 for 3 strings, okay? And in my example, all of the intervals start on the E string, and the interval formula is, however, also true if you started from the A string or the D string, just that some you might not be able to do because you're running out of strings, okay? So an octave is always a 2x2, whether I go from the lowest string between the E and the D strings, or whether I go between the A and the G strings, okay? It's always going to be a 2x2. So this formula is always true no matter how many strings you have on your bass and no matter where you start. It's not like this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's the string movement. Hence, it's applicable all over the bass. So the first number is the string. The second number could be either plus or minus, and the plus or the minus reflects the direction. So if I'm going up this way to the right, then it will be a plus. So for example, a major second would be a 0 because I'm staying in this fingering, I'm staying on the same string. It would be a 0, 2 because I'm going 2 frets to the right. In terms of fingering, right now I'm fingering a 1, 3, but I could also do a 2, 4, or I could also do a 1, 4, which in some instances makes sense. Again, those are the numbers reflected inside the black dots and the black square. Another way to finger a major second, for example, would be to go from this A to B, not like this, but to go from A on the E string to the B on the A string. So in this way of fingering the exact same interval, I would be calling this a 1 because I'm going over by 1 string, and a minus 3 because I'm going in this direction 3 frets. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm not counting frets by going 1, 2, 3, 4. Careful, I'm moving by 3 frets. So 1 over, 2 over, 3 over. Okay, I'm counting the movement. Notice the color coding. The orange interval formula goes along with the direction of the orange arrow as well as the orange fingering numbers in the black dots and squares, as do the green arrows and the green interval formula and the green fingering numbers in the dots and squares on the black diagram. And that way you can easily match up the fingering with the interval formula as well as with the diagram. If you take the numbers 0, 1, 2, and 3, whereas the first number is always going to be positive, then you can match up and find out all the possibilities that you have to finger your intervals. So what I mean by that is I can go 0, 0, 0 obviously is going to be the unison or prime, same note. But I can go 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3. If these intervals were all ascending, of course you can reverse that if you want to descend them. 0, 1, reversed. Don't call it minus because I think that creates another layer. Just know all of these are reversible. I go in this direction, I can turn it around. So this would be 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3. Now, if I start going between strings and I have the choice between going this way, meaning like this, or like this, then I have to figure out, is it minus or plus? Okay, and of course, then I can, an interval such as the 1, 2, for example. This would be 1 string, 2 frets. That would be the 5th. I can play that ascending and descending as well. So if you put together all possible options, again, the first number is always going to be either 0, 1, 2, 3. And the second number can be either -1, -2, -3, or 0. Then you're going to come up with all possible options that are on the chart. There are a few that are not on there, and that's because they extend the octave range. And I wanted to stay within an octave and not bring in the compound intervals, which are intervals that are bigger than an octave. So for example, if you don't find the 2, 3, which would be this interval, that's because that's the flat 9 that extends over the octave, and I want you to stay within the octave. You could also bring in the flat 9 by doing this. That would be 3 minus 2, and that would lead you to the same note, and again is also above the octave. And the other number that's not on there is 3 minus 1. That's also bigger than the octave. That would be the major 9th. The interval section is organized by inverted intervals. So on the left column you have an interval, on the right column you have an interval, but they're related. They are the inversions of each other. So make sure to wrap your mind around that fact. If you need help, it's explained in the book. Inversions is a different concept than ascending versus descending. More info and resources on how to use the wall chart at re-blog.com/how-to-use-the-wall-chart.